Twins of Reddit, what's your embarrassing story involving your twin's partner? My mom is an identical twin. She and her sister were always dressed alike and hated it, so one year for Halloween my grandpa took my mom costume shopping and my grandma took my aunt. When they got home they were so excited to show each other their costumes, but when they came out of their room they were wearing the same thing. Was going down an escalator at a casino. Look across and see my brother. Get the excites and yell, "Hey bro." Start waving for his attention. Was waving to myself in a mirror. My ex was once scrolling through FB and said, "You look really hot in this photo." It wasn't me. I'm not a twin, but my mom and aunt are identical twins. As they've gotten older I think they are more distinguishable, but from behind most people think they look exactly the same. My aunt and uncle were round for dinner and my aunt was in the kitchen preparing some food when my stepdad came in, hugged my aunt from behind and kissed her neck. All my aunt said was, "Wrong sister." Everyone thought it was hilarious, but my stepdad was very apologetic and embarrassed for a long time. LMAO. Edit. Wow, thanks very much to the person who gave me silver. I was very surprised to just wake up and see all the comments on this. I thought it was a pretty common thing that happens and wouldn't get too much attention. I told my stepdad about how many people commented and liked this and he was extremely embarrassed all over again, but my mom and I had a good laugh about it. He said that the reason he thought it was my mom was that my mom and aunt had the same haircut at the time and my aunt had put on my mom's jumper. Take what you will from that. LMAO. My twin brother died in a car wreck and my family suggested that I should date his girlfriend because, grief, I guess. Real fucking awkward, mom. This story is so prime and I'm so excited to tell it. I used to do musicals. Like singing, dancing musicals. My brother came to a performance and was at the greeting line afterwards. He goes up to the lead actress in the show and says, "Great job, congrats, what a show," to which she responds, "Oh, I wasn't in the show, actually it was my twin sister. But you were fantastic." To which my twin brother says, "I wasn't in the show either." And that's when the actual lead actress and I walk up wondering why they both look so damn confused. I've been laughing about it for years. Edit. Thanks for the silver, now I can say I've gotten an award for answering wrongly after misreading a prompt, haha. Gold. Edit. Whoa, gold. For the occasion I can admit, the lead actress and I were having a secret affair. This is actually my friend's story. She went to see a play at a university with her identical twin. His sister said that there was a shortcut to the theater by cutting through some class building. My friend didn't think that made sense, but her sister seemed confident about it, so she followed along. Then suddenly her sister opens a classroom door and says, "Let's go in here." My friend goes inside, and freaks out when she sees a bunch of paintings of what looks like herself, completely naked. It turns out her sister had posed nude for an art class, and thought that would be a fun surprise. Mr. Clark. I grew up in a small town where if you were walking down the road and your neighbors were outside, you smiled and waved. For years, I would take walks as a kid, smiled and waved all the time to a dear old gentleman, Mr. Clark. I was sad when I learned he passed away. He was well liked in the community. A couple of weeks after he passed, I went for a walk. As I approached his house, I saw a familiar face. It was Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark was dead. A chill went through me. I felt frozen but yet able to walk. I felt sheer terror. In that second, it was confirmed. Ghosts are real. But no one would believe me, so I kept it to myself. For a couple of weeks, I saw Mr. Clark in his yard a couple of times and I hurried on by his house as fast as I could. That feeling of sheer terror always at the surface. Mr. Ghost Clark was a little off. He didn't smile, he didn't wave. I couldn't take it anymore, so I mentioned Mr. Clark to my bestie's mom who lived 3 houses down from Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark was a twin. The happy twin passed and the curmudgeon Clark was still alive and kicking. I will never forget the feeling of nearly losing my bowels the first time I saw Ghost Clark after he passed. I will also never forget the laughter my friend's mom couldn't hold back when I told her my ghost story. I fancied a twin in high school and couldn't realize why in one class she spoke to me yet in another didn't know what the fuck I was on about. It took me 4 months and just bumping into them both on the walk home and I literally went, "There's 2 of you." I went to a funeral of a friend's father. I had no idea that the deceased had an identical twin. It felt really strange to see the guy in the coffin sat at the front row of the church. Must have been even weirder for him. My grandpa has a twin brother, and they look nearly identical even now in their late 70s. My mom told me that when I was a toddler we were at a family reunion. Apparently my grandpa was holding me and talking to my parents, and then his twin brother walked up to us and my reaction was to say, stunned and wide-eyed, "Two grandpas." I must have been really happy to have not one, but two amazing grandpas to interact with. Edit, added missing us. My sisters are twins. Their favorite story is when one of their boyfriends tries to show the wrong twin this weird-ass mole on his butt cheek. Both sisters are extremely squeamish. So boyfriend thought it was just her being grossed out. Unfortunately, my dad walked in on him chasing the wrong twin around the kitchen with half of his butt hanging out. My dad just turned around and walked out. That boyfriend also had a thing for eating raw vegetables like onions, garlic, and potatoes. Edit. The raw vegetables thing was weird because he'd find them in the kitchen, and start snacking on them like they were apples or a cupcake. Garlic and onions are a thing, sure. But the potato was weird. He got the mole removed at both of my sister's requests. My sister and him broke up after she lost him at a mall and had him pages over the intercoms. He felt like a child. In her defense, he was on those little mall trains riding around and he had her car keys. They're still friends though. Sister's update on him. He's now a pediatric cancer doctor. He is a lovely weirdo and has since married a wonderful woman, has a full soccer team of kids. My sister and her husband had dinner with them last Christmas time. He really grew into his childishness, as it now helps him with his patients. Wife loves his silliness. He still eats raw potatoes though, so you can't win at everything. Edit 2. My sisters shared this to him. He says there's nothing wrong with eating raw vegetables, but the potatoes were originally a joke that started getting too big and became part of his identity. It made others laugh and made people around him open up more and be comfortable with you they were. Or so he claims. He says to do yearly mole checks. Have a friend or partner, but not your partner's twin, help you identify any concerning moles. Follow ABCDE on moles. Asymmetry. Border, color, diameter, evolving. And wear sunscreen. I'm not the twin, but I was dating a guy on and off for years, long distance, and eventually came to find out that the guy the first had been on and off dating was fucking his twin brother and his twin brother's wife. I couldn't believe it at first, but then a whole lot of things started to make sense, the more I thought about it. I'd been friends with him a solid 15 years, and in that whole time he never really dated anyone but me. But he spent so much time with his twin brother and even more with his twin brother's wife. We're no longer dating. Eventually came to find out that the guy the first had been on and off dating was fucking his twin brother and his twin brother's wife. He was fucking his twin brother? Yep. He admitted to fooling around with him since puberty. Things slowly escalated. He made me promise not to tell anyone. So naturally, I'm telling Reddit. That's the worst kind of incest. Just think how deformed their children would be. Twincest. Prepare for trouble and make it double. I'm not a twin, but dated one of two twin brothers in high school. The other twin also had a girlfriend at the school. One day, someone in my class pulls me aside to nervously tell me he thinks my boyfriend is cheating on me. He was fairly new at the school and didn't know yet there were twins. It gave us all a good laugh when the story got around and the guy was pretty relieved to hear there was no cheating going on. Okay, but shout out to that guy for seeing what he thought was a bad situation and taking immediate action on it. Not embarrassing, but my twin sister is dating a guy that friend-zoned me. Edit. I'll add some context. I really liked this one guy. Super nice and funny and smart, and he was pretty cute too. I confessed that I liked him and got friend-zoned. It stung and he stopped talking to me after that, which totally sucked. A month later or so my sister told me about the same guy and how they both liked each other. I was pretty sad about it, not gonna lie, but they've been dating for almost 3 months now and they're a cute couple. It does sting when she tells me how great they're doing and how he is always at our house, but she's happy, so it's okay. Another edit. I'm not mad at my sister. I love her. I'm so happy she found someone that likes her for her true self and her uniqueness. Sometimes things happen, and it can suck, but that's just how life is, y'all. At least he isn't going just for the looks. I think that's probably why it would hurt more. Dad's friend is a twin. Lives in Chicago. His twin brother lives in Boston. On the same day, both twins fell off a ladder and broke the same leg. Not a twin, but I had a pair of teachers at my middle school who were identical twins. They tended to dress similarly, and I spent a lot of time confused as to how they could move around the school so quickly until someone told me there were two of them, and that they were twins. This was right before one of them got pregnant though, so I would have figured it out eventually. I used to ride around a lake and there was this buff dude running laps opposite direction all the time. For so long I thought that fucker was super fast, like I must have always ran into him during cool down section, but man, I'm hitting 12 miles per hour on average and 20 in the flats, and I'd always run into him again at the halfway mark. For months I thought this fucker was just dropping the hammer after I rounded a bend. I started riding harder and harder, then one day I noticed at some point he must have changed shorts, cause he was in gray at the first pass. Then I figured it out, they were twins and one of them fucked up on the shorts color that day. Every day they went out the running roughly in sync to get some exercise and fuck with people. There was a fucked up story about the twins in my country. 2 baby girls were swapped in hospital, and one twin came back home with other family, their daughter stayed with her twin sister. Girls were completely different, but the family thought they are just not identical twins. They found out the truth when all 3 girls were in high schools. The real twins were constantly called differently and strangers would approach them and say hi. They lived in a relatively small town, so finally some common friends organized their meeting. Although they look identical, they are completely different people, e.g. one of them likes metal music and wears black clothes. The story didn't end up well, although they sued the hospital. Both families are devastated by the whole story. I tried to date this girl from class and we were going out on dates and everything, but out of nowhere she stopped talking to me because her friends saw me with another girl, my twin sister, at the movies and thought I was playing her, but they didn't know I have a twin sister. Saw my identical male twin naked in high school. His wiener is much larger than mine, no homo, but we even compared them once and his was definitely larger. Any other twins have this problem? My penis is much bigger than my identical twin sister's, even though she's a few years older than me. I'm pretty sure we are the same size there, but somehow the bastard is like 1.5 to 2 inches taller than me. We were preemies and I was in the hospital for a few months, so that is my only guess as to why. We are identical. If you have the same size dick, yours looks bigger by comparison. While we wait for serious replies, how many sets of twins did you guys have at your school? In elementary school, there were 3 sets of twins and 1 set of triplets in my grade. Pretty insane. Edit, I believe my class size was around 100 or so. My identical twin brother, my wife, and myself all went to school together and got jobs at the same place after passing boards. Since there are some rules regarding family working together, I was not hired to the same unit as my wife. But my twin was. It was a lot of fun, taking lunches together, etc. But there was one social worker who just couldn't grasp that my brother and wife were not the married ones. She'd compliment me on how cute they were together, comment on social media how great a couple they were, even talk about how much my kids take after their dad, referring to him. It's all benign and we laugh about it, but she really laid it on thick. My dad and uncle are twins, 2/3 times a year they'll show up to dinner or they'll be at each other's houses wearing the exact same outfit, only different brands. At first it was funny, but now we know it just happens. People mix them up all the time, multiple times a month they're telling people they're not the other. Haha. Acquaintances and work associates have thought they're having an affair. My dad was confronted once and had to explain to the guy, who was a couple drinks in apparently, that he's not his brother. An actual story from when they were kids. They're almost 3 years and share a room with 2 wooden frame twin beds. That Christmas they got a plastic tool chest toy set thing. My grandma says it wasn't more than 3 weeks after Christmas when she goes into their room and the beds are completely taken apart. The head and footboard bolts were removed, the slats were removed and separated. They had no idea how it happened. My grandpa called up the company handyman who put it back together. Couple days later, same exact thing, only my grandparents are pissed now. They got rid of the wood bed frames and got 2 metal cots with the springs, which lasted about a week. My grandma walks into their room and found one of the beds completely taken apart, each spring removed. The twins, though they were working together on the second cot, one of them was grabbing the fabric and pulling it to ease the tension, and the other was using the back of the plastic hammer to pry out the spring. They ended up losing tool chest privileges. My grandma and her sister were twins. Her sister was going to be a nun, so couldn't be involved in any affairs. Some guy asked the sister out, who sent my grandma in her place, tasked with ending the date poorly. I'd like to say there's a funny ending, that the guy is my granddad, but he's not, he's just some random dude. So your grandma's sister was a sister, who sent her sister out with a mister who never kissed her? My husband has an identical twin. When my husband and I got engagement photos done, Facebook automatically tagged my husband's brother in a bunch of our photos, and I posted them without realizing. Niece try porn producers, writers. My twin brother went out to pick up some wine and his girlfriend, at the time, came over and thought I was him. She was probably really horny, but without hesitating she began to kiss me, and it took me by surprise, to the point where I was frozen in shock. I was about to get her off me, but that was when he walked in. I was about to get her off. Nice. Me. Oh. I, too, have seen that porno. I was with my twin brother at the supermarket this one time, and judging from this story I'm guessing that obviously we look the same from the back, but not exactly the front because I'm a female. My brother's girlfriend was shopping at the same store as us that day and comes up behind me and smacks my bottom saying, "Hey love." Jokingly I turn around and say it back. The look on her face made me regret what I did. I'm not a twin, but I knew some NHS. There were these 2 identical girls who were your kind of typical slutty experimental girls, and they revealed to me they would practice making out on each other. Additionally, they shared a boyfriend at some point without telling him they were 2 separate people. But when he found out, he was real upset, because if they were lying about that, then what else was going on behind his back? Apparently a lot of practicing. My little brother and sister are twins, and both of them have multiple flat spots on their heads, not noticeable through their hair. This is because before they were born they would headbutt each other inside of my mother. The doctor said a lot of the kicking she felt were actually headbutts. My twin brother is gay, so early in high school, before people knew he had a twin, I was groped by a gay man. I've told this story before, but it's even more fitting here. My identical twin sister was dating the president of a fraternity on campus, and during one of the frat's date night events she went with her BF, and I was set up as a date for one of his brothers. Towards the end of the night I got separated from my date, and my sister's extremely drunk boyfriend put his arm around me while sis was in the bathroom. BF leaned in to kiss me. Venue was super dark, so I think it was an honest mistake, so I backed up to set the record straight. He asked if I was down for a threesome with my own twin sister. I still feel bad for ditching my date, but shudders, I had to get out of there ASAP. Ew ew ew. When I was a baby my dad was supposed to take my brother to a doctor's office because he was sick, and he took me instead. My dad realized that it was me and got my brother to the doctor's. Turns out he just had a cough. Basically all of these stories are about identical twins. I'm a guy who has a twin sister and we don't look anything alike. I'm a dead ringer for the guys in my mom's family, and both my twin and little sister favor my dad's family. On top of the obvious low effort, lol you fucker twin bullshit, it really has only been a positive for me. I'm pretty awkward, and having someone to always talk to and someone around to give me an excuse to start talking to girls etc. was always a big plus. We made our own language when we were little and have so many memories. Not a twin, but I was dating one. They shared a bedroom. We were at an age that we'd still live at home. I walked in on my twin, fresh out of the shower. She was butt naked and stood with her back to me, so I walked up and grabbed her from behind, pulling her closer to me when she asked, "Alwyn _ wrong twin. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot 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 quote. Our secret? Yeah. Sorry about that. Bye." Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel so that we can create more quality content in the future.